As many of you know, my name is John Howell, and lately this channel's been taking a spin of what I've been doing in college. My segment Advice from the Expert for my advanced production class, and my PSAs. But the whole time, there are a few words I've been dying to say and just haven't had the time or energy to do. But right now it feels great to say, welcome to John's Wrestling Views. I'm your host, John. Thanks for tuning in. I had to bring this back tonight. I was watching Raw. This Sunday, John Cena and Randy Orton are in a championship unification match as both the world title and the WWE title are on the line in a tables, ladders, and chairs match to determine one champion of WWE. And honestly, I don't know. Randy Orton was in this epic rivalry with Daniel Bryan for quite some time. John Cena came back from injury, was rivals with Del Rio for a while, who can't beat Sin Cara now. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's put these championships against each other. Let's crown one champion. And, I mean, that's a huge concept. It really is. But I don't know. They've been building it pretty big, but to me it seems like you need more than just a month to build something this massive. And, I mean, it's a bit of a bummer that they're doing it now as opposed to, like, WrestleMania, but it makes sense. Keep in mind, back 12 years ago in 2001, it was the December pay-per-view. At the time, it was Vengeance, where Chris Jericho became the first ever undisputed champion. It was Jericho versus The Rock. It was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kurt Angle. The Rock and Jericho was for the WCW Championship. Austin and Angle was for the WWF Championship. The winners would face each other right afterwards to determine the new undisputed champion. And this is very similar, although we have two champions, neither of which are defending the title against other people, just each other for this unification match. And as far as I know, we don't even know for sure what this new championship's called. They had a poll last week on Raw, but that was just a fan's opinion. So I guess Sunday is going to be the time to tune in. I actually don't think I'll be seeing TLC, at least not live this year. But better believe I'll be getting the DVD when it comes out. With that said, honestly, the only match that really appeals to me right now is John Cena and Randy Orton. The idea of both Daniel Bryan and CM Punk being in 3-on-1 handicap matches is interesting, but if you ask me, that's something they should have been doing for like a Raw or a SmackDown. Which is interesting as of tonight when CM Punk faced Dean Ambrose. It looked like we could be seeing the Shield combust a little bit as the other two weren't necessarily seeing eye to eye with Dean Ambrose. That also started on Friday on SmackDown when Dean Ambrose said that he was the meanest of the Shield and the baddest of the Shield. Many would argue that would actually be Roman Reigns. So who knows? Ideally, the way CM Punk stands a chance in this 3-on-1 match against arguably the greatest faction in quite some time is if the Shield does begin to not see eye to eye in the match. Could cost them. As far as Daniel Bryan versus the Wyatts, I don't know if I really have an opinion of that. I really don't see both Daniel Bryan and CM Punk being the victors in their handicap matches. I see maybe one of them, and as discussed, maybe it is Punk. I just personally, I don't see them both happening. But that leads me to the end of Raw tonight, as both John Cena and Randy Orton were in the ring at the same time. The last time we see both world titles, both major championships in the ring at the same time, I'm guessing that may mean that there's a new title belt that'll be crowned on Sunday. But also in the ring were former both world and WWE champions who were in attendance that night. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Mick Foley, Daniel Bryan, Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger, The Great Khali, Mark Henry. There's about 20 of them in there. Quite interesting. Again, an interesting concept. In the end, though, John Cena and Randy Orton were trading words, and John Cena was in the verbal battle, definitely had the upper hand. Orton gets mad, so when they do their final stare down with the belts ascending above them, Orton strikes John Cena. Again, as typical, Orton's a heel, so be it. What's interesting about this is, of course, they get in a huge brawl. John Cena's not going to take the strike just standing there. Of course, he's going to fight back. Wrestlers get involved. They break him up, and CM Punk goes to kind of push Orton back, and Orton pie faces Punk. That's not going to sit well with Punk. Punk strikes Orton back. They get into a fight. And then CM Punk turns around for Sweet Chin Music. Or no, I'm getting ahead of myself. CM Punk, or Triple H, pulls CM Punk off of Orton. CM Punk attacks Triple H, which of course provokes Shawn Michaels, his best friend. Shawn Michaels, Sweet Chin Music onto CM Punk. Daniel Bryan has had some animosity toward Shawn Michaels for quite some time now. Gets his revenge, does his running knee to Shawn Michaels. Well, then Orton's like, hey, look, I can get an upper hand now. Attempts an RKO on Daniel Bryan. For Daniel Bryan to shove Orton off, Orton runs into Stephanie. Triple H sees Orton run into Stephanie. Doesn't sit well with him when he's getting up. Pedigrees Triple H. John Cena standing tall with the authority in the end. Not necessarily seeing eye to eye, but it is something. The main reason I found this interesting is everybody's thinking about TLC right now, and in the outskirts of everything, they're thinking about WrestleMania a few months away. Between TLC and WrestleMania, the next stop after TLC is the Royal Rumble. And as usual, everyone wants to know who's going to win the Royal Rumble match. And I think tonight, this is the main reason I wanted to record this video. I'm going to give you my prediction now. I'm guessing we will see Daniel Bryan win the Royal Rumble match. That's my prediction as of now. So many surprises to think about in the Royal Rumble that I've been reading online. I'll get to that in a moment. It's just the way they've been building Daniel Bryan for quite some time, since the summer really, when he beat John Cena at SummerSlam to turn around and lose the title right away to Randy Orton. Daniel Bryan, he's really building himself as a new face of the company. So originally, it was their plan anyway to put Daniel Bryan as a Royal Rumble winner. Well, WWE kind of came up with this new idea that they need to push the big guys, promote the big guys. That's why we've been seeing people like Luke Harper lately in a ton of matches, and the Great Khali. That's why Big Show was going after the title with Randy Orton last month for Survivor Series. But the fans haven't forgotten about Daniel Bryan, and they're still supporting Daniel Bryan really more than anybody else. So it makes sense. And after Raw Night Grand, they're in Seattle, Washington. Can't be too far away from Daniel Bryan's hometown of Aberdeen. They were solidly behind Daniel Bryan the whole time. Before John Cena and Randy Orton came out, while they're in there, there's Daniel Bryan chants, yes chants. Of course, getting under the skin of Triple H. Honestly, if you ask me, this could lead for a very interesting WrestleMania concept. Just wait to be seen. If Daniel Bryan doesn't win the Rumble, I'll say Trent Guerin has predicted CM Punk to win. And honestly, and I told this to Trent tonight, if Daniel Bryan doesn't do it, I say CM Punk's next in line. Two surprises to look at possibly for the Royal Rumble. Maybe 3 or 4, actually. I'll give you up to 5. 5 different scenarios I'm thinking about. Maybe the return of Sheamus. Sheamus hasn't been back since around Money in the Bank, I believe. It was shortly after he was actually hurt in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Was out 4 to 6 months, and unlike John Cena's injury, Sheamus actually needs all that time to recover. So maybe his return. Chris Jericho is also slated to come back around this time. He has said he doesn't know if he wants to do a Royal Rumble return because, it was done last year. It surprised everyone last year. It was great. And 2 years in a row, he just doesn't know how he feels about that. The other major return, full-time return, I could see happening is Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam came in at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, what his deal is, he wanted to work for 90 days, take some time off, and then come back and work another 90 days. As a huge Van Dam fan myself, this doesn't sit well with me. I enjoy seeing Rob Van Dam. It'll be nice seeing him through WrestleMania, but I don't want to see him take that time off again right after. So there's those three possible comebacks. Uh, Again, I'm still going to say Daniel Bryan's going to win, but surprise entries. It's always about surprise entries. There's two legends I've read about online. Jake the Snake Roberts he's been recovering. He's been trying to sober up. He's been living with Diamond Dallas Page lately and Scott Hall. DDP's been helping both Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall. Jake the Snake Roberts' goal not only is to get into better shape, he actually wants to be one of the guest appearances in this year's Royal Rumble match. For the old school generation, this would be something to see. Great to see. I'm not expecting, a huge performance. Definitely not a winner, but something to draw attention nevertheless. And speaking of legends who want to return in the Royal Rumble match, another legend whose goal is to return for the Royal Rumble match, none other than Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is no longer with TNA, no longer even in talks with TNA, wants to come back to WWE, wants to work for him. Triple H said the door is always open. Royal Rumble is his goal. WrestleMania 30 is coming up, which is a huge anniversary, so who knows? Just something to think about. But that's the future. This is now. TLC is this Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. I'm John. Have a good one.